This is our current workspace. We will perform this kind of analysis. So we know that what is the utility of pandas library, what is the utility of numpy library, but today my intention is to discuss about these libraries and their use. So if you see that we have imported one library which is matplotlib, and the second one I have written that matplotlib.pyplot. So first I will start from this point. So first we have to understand what is the concept of matplotlib pyplot. So here matplotlib.pyplot is a collection of command style function that makes this matplotlib work like MATLAB. So this is the very important point you have to remember. That is, this matplotlib pyplot, which is a collection of command style function, and due to the existence of this, our matplotlib means this one will work like MATLAB. And what are the functionality? Each pyplot function makes some change to the figure that we are going to plot. That is, it will create the figure, it will create the plotting area of the figure, and also it will plot some lines over it, and also it will create some label on that specific figure. And what do you mean by label? Say I'm going to plot two lines. Say one is red and another one is blue. Now I have to define what is the meaning of red line and what is the meaning of blue line. So we will write this command in terms of label in the plot. So each and everything PyPlot is responsible for this kind of implementation. Now in Matplotlib PyPlot, various states are preserved across the function call so that it keeps track of things like current figure and the plotting area and the plotting functions and the current axis that we are talking about, everything. Now see over here. Say I have used this one. So import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. We know that PLT is the alias which is used in place of matplotlib.pyplot. Now what I did, I have written this alias dot plot function. And within that plot function, I have passed 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I have written something as plot.ylabel and plot.show. Now you have to remember one point: whenever you are using matplotlib.pyplot, then there will be some associated functions that you can use. The first one is the plot function and the second one is the ylabel function. Also you can use in place of ylabel, you can use xlabel also. So basically whenever you are writing ylabel some numbers, see it is showing some numbers in the ylabel. Also, if you can write plt.xlabel, then you can display something in the xlabel. And then in order to show the outcome of the figure that you have drawn right now, you have to use plt.show functions. It's a very simple thing. But now we have another library which is associated with it, which is known as Seaborn. Now here try to understand, this Seaborn is a library for making statistical graphic in Python. So this is the most important point that you have to remember. But here the most important point is, whenever I'm talking about Seaborn, again it deals with graphics. Means it will draw something. So here the point is, this Seaborn is built on the top of Matplotlib. Means whenever you are going to use Seaborn, you have to write these two lines. Means you have to import this to libraries because Seaborn is built on the top of this matplotlib, and it is closely integrated with the pandas data structure. So also we need this one in order to implement Seaborn. And what is the utility of Seaborn? Seaborn helps you to explore and understand your data. Means whenever we are dealing with raw data, we have to understand this data. And we know that our human mind is better in understanding visualization, graphics, instead of some list of 2D values that we will generally capture as data. So this Seaborn will help us to visualize our own data set in a more practical way. So that's why it is important. But the most important thing is this one. Percent matplotlib inline. Now what is the meaning of this? You have to understand. So whenever I'm writing percent matplotlib, so after writing this command, it will generally create a plot, and it is responsible for embedding a PNG image of the resulting graphics. So this is the most important point. So whenever I'm talking about Matplotlib, Seaborn, fine, they are responsible for generating graphic and statistical graphical display. But whenever we are talking about some display, you will find there should be one particular format of that graphical display. And in Python, this matplotlib is responsible for displaying graphical picture into this PNG format. But there is one more discussion over this matplotlib. That is for the entire session. What do you mean by entire session? So this is my current working place. So this is known as current working session. So whenever you are working on this Jupyter notebook, this matplotlib function will be included only once for the entire session. No need to include it in parcel basis. So this point you have to keep in mind. So I have discussed each and everything about this library files. Now let's discuss one more point. Instead of displaying this kind of simple plot, we can use this kind of plot over here. So now for displaying this kind of thing, see, I have used import numpy as np. So we know that numpy can be also used for displaying some graphical functionality. But here see what I have written. I have used a new function which is known as line space. So now since we are dealing with plotting today, so we have to also understand what is the meaning of this line space function. So basically this line space function returns evenly spaced numbers over a specified interval. So whenever you want to draw something in a specific interval, that equal number or uniform spaced numbers will be plotted, then you have to use line space. But here try to understand this 0 in the line space is the start value and 10 is the stop value. So that's why if you see the plot 0 to 10, so within 0 to 10, look at this in the x-axis. In between 0 to 10, we have equally spaced number 2, 4, 6, 8. See, I have discussed plot function right now. So in this case, see within the plot function, this is the simple plot function where I am just passing a list of element 1, 2, 3, 4. Why it is a list? Because I have passed these values within square brackets. But instead of this thing, I can write plot function like this. So here what I did, np is the alias for numpy dot then sin x means sine curve, and here I have passed cos x. And also see, I can select the pattern of my plot. Here I have used single dash and here I have used double dash. So this is how we can use our plot function according to our requirements. So this is a very basic thing, and now let's start the actual implementation of today's class. So now we will discuss about the Irish dataset. So let's start our actual data analysis that we are going to do today. So I will explain each and everything over here. So this part I'm not explaining. This is how we will read our dataset, and you know that this is the location of my data file. Now let's start with this one, data.dtype. which is a very important thing to understand. So basically, first you have to understand what is this data type objects. So this D type is actually known as data type objects. Now we have to understand what is the concept of data type object. So a data type object, you can say that it is also known as an instance of a particular class. Now I will tell you the actual declaration. See, in the previous class, I have mentioned that Python is object-oriented programming. So whenever I'm talking about object-oriented programming, it is the rule of an object-oriented programming. Everything I have to access in terms of object. So how to define an object? We know that for defining an object, there will be a class and then there will be an object. So if I compare this situation, so here a is the variable and integer is the data type of that variable. Similarly, I can say OB is an object and the data type of the object is the class. So basically class is a data type of an object and reversely I can say object is an instance of a class or object is a variable of a class. Today I am talking about D type. So this D type is basically known as object. Now you know whenever I am talking of an object, there should be one class. So the class name is numpy.dtype. So basically this D type is an instance of the class numpy.dtype. Please make a note. Now, why I have used this function? So why this dtype function is used over here? So this dtype describes how the bytes in the fixed size block of memory corresponding to an array item and how it should be interpreted. So in one word, it will define the type of the data, means integer, float, or it may be a Python object, or it will define the size of the data, size of the integer, size of the float, something like this. So now if you execute this code, what is the outcome of this D type? We have to understand this one. So whenever we are talking about D types, so what I am getting? So I am getting the type of the data and the size of the data. See here what I am getting. So here D type is actually giving me the type of the data present in each column. You know what is my data set? So this is my actual data. So these are the column names, right, that I am talking about. So now here see, D type will tell you the type of the data present in each column. Now you have to understand one thing. What is float 64? So float data type in Python is known as float 64. And also it is written that the last column variety under which we have this categorical type of data, Setosa, versicolor and virginica, and the data type of this column is an object. So this is the main utility of D type. Now you may ask me one question, why are you using D type? So knowing the type of the data that belongs to each column, it is very simple, because if you visualize data, so this is float 64 value, this is float 64 value, this is also float 64 value, and this is an object kind of value, we know that. But why we need it? Now I will tell you. First let me define this one. So in the previous class I have explained that analyzing your data statistically is very important. So for that purpose, what we did in the previous class, we picked up each and every column from my data set, and I have performed some standard deviation, mean, median, mode, this kind of analysis on each and every column. But here there is a concept of describe function in Python. But in anywhere else you will find this syntax which is commonly available, that is name of the data frame, that is a variable that is holding your data file, dot describe. But see, I haven't used this syntax. I have used this syntax data dot describe, and then I have written something over here, include is equal to within single quote all. Now we have to understand why we need to write this thing. So basically, this data frame dot describe include all. This is used to get a summary of all the columns of data frame. So by this output, you will find it is giving some of the summary regarding each and every column. But here try to understand, just previously I have defined that all my columns are not of same data type. Some of them are float 64 and some of them are object. So this is the point you have to understand. Whenever in your data frame you have mixed kind of columns, that is mixed data type, at this point of time, instead of using describe, you have to write include equal to all. Then only you will be able to see the statistics of all the columns of mixed data type. So this is the first thing you have to note. Now what are the statistics it is showing? See, the first statistics is known as count, means how many values you have in each column. And in the first day, I have explained that for Irish dataset, we have total 150 rows, means 150 samples. So in this kind of situation, we have count equal to 150. Why it is 150.00? Because it is a float 64 data type. So 150, 150 and 150, and the last column is of type object. So that's why it is showing 150 as whole number. Then it is showing some unique statistics, means there exists any NaN value or not. What is this NaN value? I will explain just after this. Then it will give us some of the mean standard deviation, and also there is some concept like 25%, 50% and 75%. Now I'm going to explain this thing. So now we have to understand this describe function in more details. So whenever I'm talking about describe function, actual syntax of the describe function will look like this. Data frame, that is in our case it is data dot then describe. And then as an argument you will find three arguments. Percentile equal to none, include equal to none, and exclude equal to none. These three parameters are there for describe function. But in general, people will prefer to like describe function like this. First, I will explain it to you why. Because all these three arguments are optional. It is mentioned. So I can omit them. But we have to understand what is the concept of percentile argument. So it is an optional parameter which is a list, means it will hold list like data type of the numbers, and those numbers will fall between 0 and 1, and the default value of this argument is 0.25, 0.5 and 0.75, which returns basically the 25th, 50th and 75th percentile of your data frame. And what are this interquartile range concept? I have already provided one detailed video on this. So mathematically, I have explained what is interquartile range and how you can find it. So basically, this percentile is used to find out all these values. So that's why you are getting the statistics of 25th, 50th and 75th percentile of your data frame and its corresponding value column wise, right? And max, mean, standard deviation it is providing. Now see, I have used the same describe function over here in order to differentiate between these two. So without knowing anything, I have written data.describe and I have not written this one, include equal to all. So as a result, what I have got only the values of the columns which are having the same data type, float 64. So since the last column is of type object, so it excluded the value. So here, please make a note. Whenever you are going to find the statistics of the columns which are of having the same data type, use this one. And if you want to see the overall statistics of your data file with mixed data types, then you have to use this syntax. So this is the basic difference between two describe functions. Now I have to talk about this one. This is the most interesting thing that you will learn today. That is, it is written that data.duplicated.sum. So from this, you can easily say that I'm going to find out is there exist any duplicate value in my dataset or not. So try to understand whenever I am writing this syntax, that is the data frame dot duplicated function, this pandas duplicated method helps in analyzing duplicate values only. And what it returns a Boolean series which is true only for unique elements. Now we have to understand this concept. But try to understand, if you execute this code, you will find one. Means in my dataset, I have only one occurrence of duplicate value. So now in this case, you have to understand the actual syntax of duplicate. So here, the actual syntax will look like data frame dot duplicate. And now within this function or within this method, you have subset which is equal to none. Then you have keep is equal to first. So these are the very popular arguments. In general, it is used. Now, what is this subset argument will do? It will take a column or list of column labels, and the default value of this subset is null. So basically, after processing the columns, it will consider them only for the duplicates. So the intention of the subset function is to find out if there exists any duplicate value or not. And this keep value does what? This keep controls how to consider the duplicate value. Means we can use this keep value in three ways. Means how we can deal with the duplicate values. So we have three ways. So if I write first, means it considers the first value as unique and rest of the same values as duplicate. Now I can change this one. I can change programmatically and I can write here keep is equal to last within single quote. So at this point of time, it will consider the last value as unique and rest of the same value as duplicate. Also, we can replace this portion as false. We can write keep equal to false. So it considers all of the same values as duplicate. Now try to understand. So understanding duplicate value is very much important, because whenever you are dealing with real life data, so you have to decide how to keep track of the duplicate value. Means if my data set is very much prone to some duplicate value, if a particular column is very much prone to duplicate value, then we have to decide which value we should consider as duplicate and which value we should consider as unique. So this thing you can control by the duplicate function. But if you don't need that, then you can just write data dot duplicated. And also this duplicated is a method. So why it is written as sum, you will understand. But see, this is the main concept of duplicated. So I haven't used this subset or keep argument because they are optional. So that's why I have omitted this one. But here it is returning one, means I have one duplicate value. So whenever we will execute this kind of method, then if I find some result, then it is our duty to find out which one is the duplicate value. So to see which row is the duplicate one, I have written this syntax. That is, again I have written data frame dot duplicated, and now this time I have passed this data frame dot duplicated method within square brackets. And then I have written the variable name data in which I have my data set. So if you follow this syntax, then you will be able to identify which row is containing the duplicate value. So it is giving me the result that 142 is my duplicate value. So if I go there, it's 142. So this is the duplicate value. It means I have this value already in my data set. So now this thing I have to justify. So we have the mechanism to find out the duplicate value. In your interview also, this question will be asked, is it necessary to remove the duplicate value? Then you will say yes. My answer is it depends on the situation. Why? Now see, in my dataset, I have three classes, Setosa, Versicolor and Virginica. And we know that we have 50 samples of each. And I have explained that whenever we have equal number of samples in dataset, it is balanced dataset. And balanced dataset are very easy to work with. Means it is one of the example of good raw dataset. But if you keep on deleting the values, duplicate values, so what will happen? So here I have identified that the value of the Virginica is duplicated. So I will delete this one. So at this point of time, the value of the Virginica will be 49. And if I find any other value, then again I will delete it. It will be 48. So if I keep on deleting these values, as a result, my data set will be unbalanced. So as a result, if my data set will become unbalanced, then I have to find out or learn some mechanism how to deal with unbalanced data set. So alleviating one problem will result in another problem. So here, see, this is not the rule. This is coming from experience. Whenever you have very less number of duplicate values, how you can calculate? See, we have 150 value. Out of 150 value, we have one value as duplicate, or 2, 3 or 4 value as duplicate. Find out the percentage. If that percentage is very low, no need to remove it. So this is the biggest point that you have to consider. Otherwise, it will result in unbalanced data set. But here my point is, whenever we are dealing with medical data set or any other kind of real life data set, which is very complex in nature itself, then we may find duplicate value, but the data self itself is unbalanced. So at that point of time, if I remove the duplicate value, so there will be no problem, because anyhow I have to use the mechanism to deal with the unbalanced data set. So at that point of time, removing duplicate value will not create any problem. So this is the point you have to remember. Now there is another point that we have to remember, this one. So what is this isNull function is all about? So here whenever you write data.isNull, it will detect missing value, right? Means if I ask you this question, what is the return type of this isNull function? So you will tell me that it will return a boolean same sized object indicating if the value are NA or not. NA means not applicable value. But here we have a biggest question. What do you mean by missing value in dataset? So it is a very simple question, ma'am. Why you are asking this question? Whenever we have A, B, C, D, 4 or 5 columns, so we will check by the rows or check by the columns, and we will find out that which values are not there. Say in this case we have no value. Then we have some values over here. So this is your missing value. So now, if you have this kind of situation in your data set that some of the cell is vacant, and if you try to use that isNull function, then as a result, you will get nothing. Now the question is why? Because see, whenever in your data set you have empty strings like this is known as empty string. And this isNull function will not be able to deal with empty string. It will not able to work on this. So what you can do? So basically, if you find out that some of the places in your data set are vacant, then you have only two options. Either you write NA or you write NaN. If isNull function will get this kind of values in your data set, then only it could perform. For empty string, we can further code our isnal function, it is a very complex way. Means we have to set at that point of time pandas dot options dot mode dot use instance dot na, which is equal to true. Like this we have to set this kind of value. So I will show it to you. Means why this kind of syntax is required, so that isnal function can deal with empty strings. But in general, instead of writing this kind of long values, it is better put nan or na in the vacant place externally, and then only isnal function will work. So this is the biggest thing that you have to understand. And what it is displaying, see, we have no missing values. See, in each and every column, there are no missing values, right? But we are going to learn all this thing, but I think I should continue this part tomorrow, because this is the most difficult and mathematical thing to understand. So I have to define whole lot of mathematics with this Q and code. It's very, very important. So now you will understand why I have carefully selected Irish dataset, because it is a multivariate dataset. Also, it is a balanced dataset. And one more thing, whatever statistics I am discussing, this is just the basic one. Means all this syntax will differ depending on the dataset. Tomorrow we have to learn specifically mathematics on this. Then only we can understand how to find out statistical analysis on our dataset. Tomorrow there will be a class on real statistical analysis.